Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. And if you can tell just by this introduction, this is going to be a different kind of video. Don't panic. It's all okay. I'm just trying something different. I wanted to do something a little more raw, a little more conversational than usual. I don't have a script this time. There's not going to be a lot of editing. There are going to be some breaths and hopefully no burps. I'll probably edit those out. But for the most part, I just have an outline and I'm going to be talking. Hopefully it sounds a little natural. I tried not to make it too scripty, but if it comes across that way, I apologize. I'm experimenting with this format. If you like it, please let me know. If you do not, if you wish for me to just keep doing my essay format where it's very edited, very focused, please let me know. But for now, I'm trying something different because I want to kind of release things on a more regular basis. With all that said, if you heard that, then that's proof that this is a bit more of a raw video. I want to talk about E3. And now E3 isn't something that's going to happen for a while. It normally happens in June. It is February. Hopefully this video came out within a relatively decent vicinity of recording this. But right now it's February. E3 is in June. It's not for a few months away. It's not until, it's a few months out. So why am I talking about E3? Well, first of all, I'm weird and I have weird thoughts. And I was just thinking, something I was just thinking about, and I wanted to say something about it because I noticed something very recently. Well, it was Rainbow Six Invitational 2019. Let me just say, before I jump, I have an outline, try to stick to the outline so I don't get ahead of myself and confuse myself. I just want to say before I get too into this topic that I love E3 more than I love most things. It's the highlight of my year pretty much every year. It's a collective celebration of gaming that has memorable moments, both good and bad, and they always manage to form the mindset of the industry in the months following E3. I always go back to E3 reaction videos just to relive some of the most hyped moments like the announcements and reveals of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, Shenmue 3, Resident Evil 7, Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil 2, for example. There are plenty more. There's also not necessarily reveals or announcements, but like Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Those are very exciting moments. Okay, with that being said, I want to say that E3 is no longer necessary, and I realized it while I was watching the 2019 Rainbow Six Invitational. That sounds like a bold claim. E3 is no longer necessary. That's kind of a scary thing to say, but hear me out. It's something I've thought about for a long time, but I never realized just how much we don't really need it anymore, and that if it went away, things probably wouldn't change that much. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks that, because Sean Layden from PlayStation has already expressed a very he's not exactly too interested in E3, and he's expressed that on multiple occasions. And it's all the more clear now that they aren't even showing up to E3 2019. He cited that it's because they don't really have anything new to announce, probably because the PS5 is coming soon, but this is probably an idea they've been floating around for a while. Probably around, I would say, 2017, I think, is probably when they thought about it, because that was a very lukewarm show. It was a very divisive show. People didn't really have a lot good. There wasn't a ton from that show to remember that I remember. There was Monster Hunter World, there was Shadow of the Colossus. Those are kind of the biggest announcements from that conference as far as I remember. Everything else was still things we had seen before, and that was the same. I think to avoid another show of just things we've seen before, that's why they skipped PSX and E3 2019. And like I said, it could also be because the PS5 is coming soon. They want to wait until they can announce the launch games for those. And they usually do that by having an event, a specific PS5 console reveal event, and then later they'll talk about all that, depending on when it comes out. Anyway, that's beside the point. E3 is kind of a pain because it costs a lot of money to show up at E3 to begin with, and there's always the expectation that if you're showing up, you're going to be dropping some major announcements. That was why people were upset when at Sony's 2017 conference, because it didn't feel like they really had much to show. And same with 2018. It was like, okay, we've seen this all before. These aren't new announcements. We're seeing some new things like from Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, but there aren't any terribly shocking announcements aside from maybe Resident Evil 2 and Neo 2 and Control. But E3 is also a place that you can't really get into the nitty gritty at. It's not a PSX, it's not a BlizzCon, it's not a Rainbow Six Invitational. The announcements you see at E3 are for a very broad audience and for investors. That's why you see Just Dance and, Madden and FIFA take up so much, stage time, is because they're not just talking to fans of gaming. They're also talking about, guys in suits who are looking to invest in this company, and they need to show like, hey, this is a very successful thing. That's us. We do that. Please invest. But back to the Rainbow Six Invitational. People from the dev team outlined all of the additions and improvements coming in year 4 of Siege. And it was really fun seeing how something simple like making it so you can directly attach shields to doors can get a huge reaction from both the crowd and myself. I was freaking out because there's a huge strategy behind the deployable shield in Siege. The strategy is to, instead of barricading a door, you just put a deployable shield in the doorway. But there's always this tiny little gap between that people can, sneak bullets through. And so they made it so you can just directly attach the shield to the doorway. It covers the gap, and it even has little windows in it that you can look through. So it's really like a really nice improvement that was a long time coming that got me really excited. And the thing is, like this is what developers want. They want to announce things for their fans. They want these tiny little announcements that get big reactions. Obviously, they want their game to appealing. Let me start that sentence over. Obviously, they want to make their game appealing and successful to the masses, but once they have that crowd, they want to talk to them directly through specialized events like the Invitational. They want new people in, but they really want to focus on the word of mouth that comes from appealing directly to your fans. At E3, you only get a specific amount of time within a scheduled show featuring dozens of other games and developers. It's entirely possible for your segment to get lost in the noise if someone else really brings the heat. With specialized events, they can talk directly to the people who care the most about their game, but also have a chance of appealing to outsiders or newcomers who are excited to dive in and dedicate their time to something new. The passion of the fans has a chance to rub off on newcomers. I see time and time again people complain about certain E3 showcases that spend too much time on certain stuff. If they spent 20 minutes at Ubisoft's E3 conference talking about deployable shields being able to latch onto doors, you'd probably see a lot of, joking and mockery on the Twitch chat. And I think people are too quick to complain about certain parts of E3 showcases because other people might be absolutely loving that part and freaking out over it. And that's the appeal of the specialized event is someone else might not care, but they're not even there. The only people watching are the people who care. Whereas with E3, you've got everybody, and there might be one segment that is good for a handful of people, and that's it, and everyone else thinks it's stupid. For example, I love Forza Horizon, and I was really disappointed with the media coverage of Forza Horizon 4's unveiling because most of the personalities that I was watching were pretty indifferent toward it. Many personalities chose this, like the Forza Horizon 4 showcase, they chose that moment to take a bathroom break or to check Twitter or to go on their phone, and they just weren't even watching the show. And it was really frustrating as a fan of Forza Horizon because I'm passionate about this thing, and I like these people that I'm watching, but they're being kind of disrespectful. It doesn't feel like they're giving this game the respect that they would give a game they like. And it hurts because I don't have that. It sucks when you don't have that let me rephrase this. It sucks when you don't see your passion represented by people in the media. You wish you could be on that stage saying, no, this is a big deal. Hear me out. This is a big deal, and here's why. And you just don't get that opportunity. Whereas when you're watching people covering a very specialized event, like a Rainbow Six Invitational, like a Final Fantasy 14, conference meeting, you see personalities reacting to that, they would only be doing that reaction in the first place if they cared about that thing they were covering. Like I said, E3 is very generally consumed, so you get a lot of segments that some people don't care about, but some people really care about. So you get these weird reactions. And I don't blame anyone if they're not into the same stuff that I'm into, but that speaks to the strengths of specialized events that cater to a specific audience. Like I said, if you're not even going to bother watching a Final Fantasy 14 event, you're not going to watch that if you're not into that game. So the only reactions you see are from the passionate fans. And as a fan, I'd miss E3, but from a business and from a developer standpoint, I totally understand why they'd rather focus on the people who are already sold rather than trying to convert someone in the middle of a show with a segment they may not care about. It's going to be hard to convince people who are already tuned out because, oh, it's this. Well, I don't care about this, so why bother watching? I think the best of both worlds lies in the Nintendo Direct. The Xbox and PlayStation conferences, while specialized around those consoles' ecosystems, are still largely reliant on third-party games from Square Enix, Capcom, EA, voice crack, EA, and Bethesda. You know, like they have the first-party lineup, but you're not going to fill an hour and a half just with your own games unless you're really, scraping. No, I don't want to say scraping the bottom of the barrel, but, you're not. You're not going to be doing heavy hitters after heavy hitters. Whereas if you have third parties, you have the chance to do, big bomb after big bomb. But Nintendo Directs are almost entirely focused on first-party titles. They aren't really beholden to a specific time limit either. They can get range from like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And they are very specialized specifically to Nintendo fans rather than fans of the entire industry as a whole. There are a lot of people I know who don't care about Nintendo games. Like there's some people I talk to and I'm really passionate about this Nintendo game and, they couldn't care less. And it's like, oh, I guess that's just not, they're just not Nintendo fans and that's totally fine. Oop, bumping the mic. But yeah, Nintendo's not trying to appeal to people who don't already love Nintendo. Obviously, they want people to be enticed and to buy their products, but the Directs have a very real focus on making people who already own Nintendo products want to stick with them even more. So, here's the part where I kind of get into the conclusion part. We're about 11 and a half minutes in, which is already longer than I anticipated. So I kind of just want to boil it down and get to the conclusion. So, next time you're thinking about using this emote, this emote, this emote, this, or this in Twitch chat during a segment you never cared about to begin with, just know that the people behind each E3 conference see that. They see those emotes. And those emotes are probably influencing many of the decisions behind leaving E3. But with PlayStation not showing up to this year's E3, the door is wide open for Xbox to steal the show with all the third-party studios that would have appeared on PlayStation's stage that are now going to show up on Xbox's. So, despite one of the industry's biggest heavy hitters not showing up, E3 2019 still has the potential to be one of the best E3s in history. Maybe this means we can have a world with both, the specialized events specifically built for fans of a specific game, and the big trade shows filled to the brim with dozens of games and announcements. There is one thing I haven't brought up though, and that it's one of the reasons why E3 has been fading away. It's allowing the public in. This doesn't necessarily affect the conferences themselves, but it has affected how the media covers the event. Man, my voice is cracking all over the place. Oh man, I need some water, but I'll get that later. I'm almost done with the video. No worries. Okay, so allowing the public in doesn't necessarily affect the conferences themselves, but it has affected how the media covers the event. With the sudden influx of hundreds of fans, the halls of the LA Convention Center got way more crowded, making it harder for journalists to just do their jobs unless they have specific appointments. Otherwise, they'd have to wait in line like everyone else, and some of those lines are insanely long. Some of the lines, I saw pictures of, I think, for Smash and for Mario Odyssey when those were at E3, and it was insane. Like, you can't, if you're a journalist just trying to do your job and you didn't get an appointment, that's your entire day. That's your entire day. And that's crazy. You just can't do your job efficiently if you're a one-man show, or even a two-man show, or however many people show. The only reason they opened the E3 to the public to begin with was because E3 was losing money. So the problem may not be that companies are leaving to focus on specific audience and specialized events. It's just that E3 itself won't be able to sustain itself for much longer. Whatever happens to E3, the spirit of E3 will live on in events like Xbox Fan Fest and PSX. It's just that they won't be happening within a relative vicinity to each other. And while that might be a shame, you can rest assured that the hype that comes from these new announcements, reveals, and new details won't be going away anytime soon. You might just have to find it in new places.